What's going on, everyone? Today we're going to be taking a look at the most recent Supreme Court case that was pretty prominent, and it is discussing the vitamin vaccine mandates and how those ruled not only for healthcare workers but for private businesses as well. We'll take a look at two articles today. One's from Fox Business, the other is from Reuters. And if you would like to read these articles, I'll leave it in the comment section or the description below for your ability to read if you want. So the title of this one is, quote, Supreme Court blocks Biden OSHA vaccine mandate, allows rule for healthcare workers, end quote. So this is just kind of getting a general idea of like what was the ruling and stuff. So if we scroll down here a little bit, we can see kind of some comments and we can see the reason as to why that the court blocked for private businesses, and here we can read on Fox's website, quote, the court ruled that OSHA lacked the authority to impose such a mandate because the law that created OSHA empowers the secretary to set workplace safety standards, not broad public health measures, end quote. So essentially what this is saying is private sectors, private businesses do not have the power to impose a vaccine mandate. And if they try, it is against federal law, and you are not allowed to, pretty much. But that's pretty simple, and that's pretty easy to understand. And then if we scroll down here a little bit, this one, where is it? Right here, I think. Yep, right here is regarding the OSHA mandate and to healthcare workers, and kind of the general ruling for what that was. In here on Fox's website, we can read, quote, by contrast, in Biden v. Missouri, the court ruled that Health and Human Services Secretary Xavier Becerra did have the authority to require all healthcare workers at institutions that receive Medicare and Medicaid funding to get the jab unless they get medical or religious exemptions, end quote. So the ruling in the case was that if you work in healthcare, unless you have a medical or religious exemption, you have to get the jab if specified or if required by your employer. That is what the ruling from the Supreme Court of the United States was for healthcare workers, not for private businesses, specifically for healthcare workers. That will affect quite a few Americans, as Reuters will kind of tell us here in a little bit. And then everything else down here, I mean, there's really nothing else here that's too worth noting, it looks like. This kind of just goes in there, multiple arguments and stuff. But I will leave a link for this article. It's not a long read. It's pretty short, but it kind of gives you the basic overview of what went on. So now we can take a look at the Reuters article. And the title of this video is, whoops, let me pause this video. I don't want that. Pause. Okay, whatever. The title of this article is, quote, U.S. Supreme Court blocks Biden vaccine or test policy for large businesses, end quote. So this is, again, kind of the overview, but this has information that the Fox Business article did not, which I think is rather important or worth noting, because it's always good to know who voted with who, so that way you kind of get an idea where they might stand in future decisions brought up to the Supreme Court. So if we can scroll down here a little bit, this is right here is talking about how they cannot impose the mandates for businesses with at least 100 employers, but do require it for businesses that do have for healthcare businesses and they can require it there. So here it says in Reuters, quote, Washington, January 13th. Reuters, the U.S. Supreme Court on Thursday blocked President Joe Biden's COVID-19 vaccination or testing mandate for large businesses, policy the conservative justice deemed an improper imposition on the lives and health of many Americans, while endorsing a separate federal vaccine requirement for healthcare facilities, end quote. So again, this kind of just goes over that healthcare facilities can have the mandates imposed, private businesses cannot. If we scroll down here a little bit, we can see the ruling here. So, quote, it ruled 6-3 with the 6 conservative justices in the majority and the 3 liberal justices dissenting, and blocking the rule involving large businesses, a policy that applied to more than 80 million employees, end quote. So that right there kind of just shows that, or it tells us that who voted to block it, and that's the 6 conservative judges, which is the majority ruling. So the 3 liberal broke away from that and said, no, we don't want to block it. The conservatives went, yes, we want to block it. We don't want this in place. This violates the Constitution, so we are going to block this. And that's exactly what happened here. When we scroll down, we can see that it talks about in terms of the actual, in terms of the healthcare part of the mandate. We can read here that it says the quote, the vote was 5-4 to allow the healthcare worker rule, which requires vaccination for about 10.3 million workers at 76,000 healthcare facilities, including hospitals and nursing homes that accept money from the Medicare and Medicaid government health insurance programs for elderly, disabled, and low-income Americans. Two conservatives, Chief Justice John Roberts and Justice Brett Kavanaugh, joined the liberals and the majority in that case, end quote. So this shows that two conservatives voted with the liberals. It doesn't say as to why, though, I don't think. I mean, it might down here, but I'm more concerned, like, not concerned, but like I'm more focused on what the general ruling here was. And so if you take into account 10.3 million workers out of about 330 million Americans or so, that's roughly 3.2% of all Americans, which is, I mean, at on paper, sounds like not a lot, but in reality, 10.3 million people, that's a lot of people that are going to be required to get these vaccinations. And what I predict will happen is I believe that many are going to walk out of their jobs, and we're going to see a shortage of workers. We're going to have a lot of jobs available for those workers. That's what I think is going to happen. Just because we've seen here in the past that people who are trying to force vaccines on other medical workers, a lot of them have walked out. So I think what this kind of shows in the future is that it kind of sets precedent, not president, but precedent, Precedent, that if another vaccine is made for a different type of virus, if there's another big one like this current one in the United States, that they will be able to enforce it on medical workers as the law of the land currently stands, unless it is overruled in the future, which I don't know that that's possible, but it might be, but I don't know. So that's kind of that, and what I believe this will mean for the future is, again, that kind of situation where private businesses can't have vaccines on them, forced on them, but if you work in the healthcare field and you work at one of those that isn't privately owned but is publicly, locally, or federally owned, then you have to get the vaccine if employed by your employer, or at least they'll try and force you. As unfortunately the Supreme Court ruled it, which kind of surprises me, but also doesn't really surprise me. So that's kind of where we're at for that. So that's just kind of how the ruling went. How we were able to see who ruled with what, and then we were also able to kind of get a general estimate of the population that would be affected and just the overall ruling. And that's a pretty simple analysis, but I think it's pretty important for the future and to see where this could bring us and where this could take us. So that's kind of what I have on this. I'd like to hear your opinions in the comment section below. If you did enjoy this video, be sure to leave a comment, like, and subscribe. It would mean a lot. And if you guys disagree or agree, let me know in the comment section below as to what you agree or disagree with and why. And if you guys have a suggestion for a video you'd like in the future, by all means, leave a suggestion in the comment section below, and I'll pick the one that I'll do a video on next. So thank you guys so much for watching, and have a wonderful rest of your day.